Hello, everyone. In this week's module, we're studying residential applications of lighting. So we're going to be taking all of the lighting concepts and ideas that we've learned this semester and really seeing how it can be applied to a residential project. First, we're going to talk about what a quality lighting design looks like for a residential design. What are the criteria and what should we be looking at? And then we're going to go into much more detail about all of the different types of activities and spaces that occurred in a residential project. And your textbook kind of has three categories of those. One is called transitional spaces. And then they break it up into some activities that are performed in multiple spaces or locations, and some activities that are performed in dedicated spaces. So first, let's talk about residential design in general. Residential design is both diverse and very specific. So the diversity of residential design comes from its wide variety of locations in cities, suburbs, small towns, a just extreme variety of styles and configurations, and a broad range of sizes for the project also. It's very specific to a client and to a site. So your residential project will be very particularly tailored to the client and to their budget, taste, lifestyle, preferences, etc. Site-specific criteria include orientation, is it facing north, south, etc. Colors, textures, materials, furniture and accessories, and room geometry. You're also need to pay attention to the installation limitations of your particular residence. So in that way, diverse and very specific. So we've talked about what a quality lighting environment looks like all semester. So let's focus in on what a quality lighting environment will look like in a residential project. First of all, it's important to take a holistic approach to the design in general, including seamless integration. You want your lighting to be part of your total interior design. Second, we need to include those layers of lighting. If there's a theme in this semester, that's one of them. All right. It's important to consider layers of lighting for all the rooms in your residence. Sometimes people forget about this concept for certain rooms. For example, bathrooms might have only one layer. Um, that's a no-no. All right. And we want to make sure that we follow this layer of lighting idea or concept so that we're only providing the amount of lighting needed at any one time. And this is also an energy conservation step. So your textbook also mentions that you need to consider many lighting options for your residential design. Be open to considering all options, new ideas. Don't just go with the standard or the traditional, but make sure you design for the unique needs of your client. So when we talk about the types of activities and spaces that are in a residential design project, um, you really want to really focus in on the tasks that happen within the space. And here's one way to do it. It's called a bubble diagram. You might be familiar with this, but here's an example of kind of diagramming out the different spaces within a home in this example, or you can do it within a room, and what they might be used for. So your textbook differentiates between these couple of headings, and so that's what we're going to talk about today. First, let's talk about transitional spaces. And the first one is entryways. Entries are a transition between public space and private space, inside and outside. And right now we're talking about the lighting that is outside of the home at the entryway. And you might want to make sure to consider first impressions. This might be the first glimpse someone has of a home, but also, and this is important, consider safety and security at entranceways. The luminaires that you select should match and complement and reflect the general architectural style of the home. And make sure that you match the entryway scale. I hate seeing a beautiful home and then just a teeny tiny luminaire next to the door. Someone really didn't think that through, and you need to match the scale. The next transitional space we want to talk about are foyers, or the interior entryway of a home. And what we want to do as a lighting designer is plan for a smooth adaptation from inside to outside. And often this is a big change in lighting level. Could be from bright outside to dark inside. Could be the other way around. It could be dark inside, bright outside. Didn't I just say that? Anyway, um, you want to allow your clients and your users, you want to allow their eyes to adjust from inside to outside. So when you're entering the home, plan on the entry process. In the day, you want to provide natural light in that foyer to smooth the process of adaptation. In the evening, when it's dark outside but bright inside, consider adding landscape lighting outside, and that will again smooth that transition. When someone is exiting the home, so the opposite journey, in the daytime, you may want to supplement the foyer with some artificial light. In the evening, the eye takes longer to adapt from a bright inside to a dark outside, and so please plan for that and keep an eye on safety. The next transitional space that we want to consider are hallways. Hallways are tricky to light. It's challenging to include layered lighting in hallways. And sometimes you can get patches of dark areas. So that's important. You need to consider even lighting. But you also want to be able to dim the lighting and provide low lighting for sleeping hours. And switching can be difficult because of the long, thin passageway. So you'll want to consider carefully if you want three-way switches at each end of a hallway, etc. The final transitional space that we're going to consider are staircases. Staircases are a clear safety issue, so make sure that you get a distinction between the risers and the treads so that people can see clearly the definition there. And one suggestion for that is to include some recessed light sources along the side walls, or even possibly in the treads to illuminate the steps. I'm going to pause here and end this video, but we're going to continue the discussion about residential tasks and spaces in the next video. Thanks, everyone.